Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. It's time for another edition of Comic Book Roundtable. Tonight, the table is small, but that's okay. That just gives us plenty of room to talk without having to listen to everybody else talk, right?
Yep. Intimate conversations.
There you go. So I am here with Sergeant America, Mike. Been a good week?
It's been warm but good, yeah. It's done with it. Let's be happy.
Yeah, excellent. So let's just jump right into some comics. Let's talk DC first.
Right.
What book do you want to talk about? You got Secret Six, right?
Secret Six, yeah. It's my only DC pickup.
Issue number 4.
Yeah, and it felt weird right away having two different artists on it. I like their styles, but I don't know if I want each comic book to be divided in half.
Right. So part of the book, like the first 7 pages of the book, is the arts by the guy who did the art on the first 2.
Yes.
Whereas last issue, the art was done by the cover artist.
Yeah. And also, I believe there was a sample, which I just downloaded on my digital format. I even had a chance to read it. Evidently, there was a digital taste of Secret Six also that I didn't know about till I was exploring who all these artists were. But I mean, both of them are strong, each in their own way. But it's just disruptive to get through all of a sudden to have this shift into a new artist. I mean, I like them both though. That's the only good thing about it is it's two good artists. Yeah. In my opinion. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's a change from last issue. It's a change enough, and it's enough of a change from like last issue, for instance, for me anyway, to go to look at a character when they're not in a costume and go, oh, okay, that's the ventriloquist. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's who that is. Okay. You kind of thing. I couldn't just visually immediately go, these are who everybody is.
Yeah.
So.
Which I always think is very interesting. Big Shot and ventriloquist, like you said, they don't wear superhero outfits. So, and now I see why there's certain tropes that are done. I mean, because it's very visual to automatically lock on these people.
Sure.
To know that there's somebody who could have a different set of clothes every day, that would be a little tough if the artist isn't consistent.
Right. If everybody doesn't stick to enough of even if it's a different artist, if they stick to a standardized kind of a look, but then you take away the artistic individuality out of the book though too, from the artist. So I don't know. So what'd you think of the story?
Well, number one thing is I read through it and I flipped out. Mainly because I had forgotten about this hasn't been out since the New 52, and that was a reboot. So there are characters who interact with each other who should know each other and aren't talking at all like that. And I'm like, am I missing something here? Are they trying to tell me something? Is there layer upon layer? And then I just realized, you're an idiot, Mike. It's a New 52.
Right. It's the old Secret Six. Half of the old Secret Six shows up from the old Secret Six before the New 52, show up hunting down the new Secret Six. And they conveniently tie it into where they kind of know each other. Well, in a way, at least Blake, at least Catman does.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was the number one thing that upset me right away. As somebody who had read the first series, got into this one, which now it seems okay, because there were little issues I had, like, well, this character seems like this one from before and this one, which makes sense, because when they retold the Batman story, Alfred is still the butler and Commissioner Gordon is still the chief. It just doesn't occur to me on something as different as this is, we're retelling the whole story again. And it didn't even occur to me. I thought it was a continuation. And that's where, I just messed up. So
here's the other thing that I did not like storytelling wise. This issue number 4, goes back to before issue number 3.
Yeah.
Come on, why not have just told this story in the first place? So what ended up making, maybe this is the cynic comic book reader in me, what it made me end up feeling like was like, oh, they were suddenly, because now this is dropped the New 52, right? This is just the DCU, YOU. everything, now we've got creative power to kind of do what we want to do and all that. So, hey, let's throw all those old Secret Six people back in it, because that'll make everybody happy, because we'll get to see, Ragdoll again. We get to see Scandal. We get to see all these people, and it'll be like, that'll be awesome. So let's go back and fit them all in somewhere. And that makes the most sense. Let's put them in there. Right. So let's go back and tell this story that we didn't need to tell, because this informed us of nothing, right? At least in my opinion, it really informed us of nothing other than, hey, these people now exist in the DC universe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It did seem like it was all set up for character development, because how Big Shot dealt with Candy or Callie or
Porcelain,
yeah.
Who clearly has been, who's come across as a woman all this time, other than Catman kind of saying, I don't know. Yeah. And now she's like, well, some days I feel like a guy, and I feel like a girl, and some days I don't. Yeah.
And I did think that was amazing, because they even set up so that Big Shot looks like a bigot, or
right, and it turns it around.
Yeah, and so I mean, that was nice. It was well done, because it shows probably how they expected Airboy to go. As a writer, Gail tackled it and showed, this is how we'd like society to be, as opposed to, there are some idiots out there who might say something offensive. Right. So it was a smart write. I thought that was a good way of transitioning that, building the character on each of them. The introduction, though, like you said, of the old Secret Six, that was just really weird, on how they walked up with the cookies and.
Well, yes and no, but that's how the old Secret Six would have been, though, right?
Yeah.
They either would have went, let's just blow the whole place up, or because really, let's just go in and see if we can strike a deal with them. You just turn yourselves in. We can get our friends back. We'll all be happy. I mean, that's the kind of crazy stuff that they would do, though, too.
Yeah.
The characters themselves, I think, are written well within the book. I think Gale captures everybody well. Everybody seems to have their own personality. Everybody, the interactions, I think, were great. Like the interaction you're talking about with Mr. Big Shot. They show us a little more of the Mr. Big Shot.
Yeah.
With his powers, he gets like kicked in the face, and his face keeps like the footprint for a few seconds before it warps back. To give us more hints as to who this character might actually really be. But to me, it's still a storytelling of going backwards behind where we're at now. That doesn't. To me, there was no value in that in itself. Why didn't they show us getting to the suburbs in the first place instead of we're in the suburbs now? I mean, and then have to go backwards and show us that. Other than, to me, it felt like this was a good way for them to fold these the old Secret Six in. I don't know. It just
but still, they could have done that, like you said. I mean, it looks like they just made a jump and then they're going back. So I don't know if that has to do with the artist, that they wanted this other person to write a different, to draw a different style.
That's an interesting thought too. Is the artist so far? I can't imagine the artist was that far in the hole, because this was on break for two months, right?
Yeah.
And then they didn't finish the book anyway.
Yeah. So that's, I guess I just don't, because we have so many questions on why some of this is done that way. Because did you see that the next issue is Block Party? So it's going to be the party that even sets up. So once again, we're still, they just pushed one book out ahead, and now they're covering their tracks.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. But I mean, it's still strong. I mean, like you said, you could see all of Gale's writing. It was great in here. The character fights were enjoyable. And then, I don't know, the whole Banshee part.
Yeah.
At first I was thinking, did they throw that in just to establish that, yes, it is Banshee? or because she's like, I can smell death, or one of you guys is gonna die.
Well, that's to make us all now wonder which
Yeah.
person's going to drop dead amongst them all. So,
Yeah.
which one of those characters is going to be expendable, right?
Yeah.
Or how are they going to cheat death? I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah. So, it was the very first book I read of my poll. It was enjoyable. It's what I want every week. I mean, it is good. It's fun. It's smart. It's still progressing at a great pace. I'm happy. I mean, this is the kind of book that I really wanted. But when I think back that the other one came out like 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago now,
No,
and we're only,
the first 2 issues.
yeah, and now that we're only on issue 4, that's the kind of things that can throw a fan off.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, I love Ragdoll in a team like this.
Yeah.
That character just cracks me up. He's such a loon. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of worries about the book and in its longevity. The inconsistent art, I think, is going to be a problem. We got 3 artists working on the book now. 2 in this issue, 1 last issue, and I think that bounce back and forth, that level of inconsistency, will make a lot of fans go away. There's going to be the Gale fans. The Gale fans are going to read the book regardless, and the Secret Six fans, I think there's a chunk of them, they're going to read it regardless, because they're just part of that, but I think anybody who did not know about the book or had heard stuff about the old book and thought, well, I'll try this one. This is the kind of stuff I think scares a lot of fans away. Let's get something consistent. So,
and outside her independent work, I guess there's been a lot of times where I felt that she has not been given a very strong artist.
Lots of times. Yeah.
So that's my only thing too. I don't understand. She seems to be a good writer for them and has a good fan base. I don't understand why this keeps happening.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I don't know, what goes behind the scenes. Clearly, she's always been such a cheerleader for the DC universe, for DC and stuff like that. And you're right. It feels like lots of times she gets a mediocre or gets a really consistent, artist. And this does nothing really against these artists, but kind of feels like artistically, as far as the art goes, this book is being thrown under the bus. Is how it feels like, that it's, I don't know. I don't know whose fault that is. Is that the editor's fault on it, or?
Yeah, I definitely don't know enough about the business to
now that I'm saying that, I'm just looking to see who the. Okay. Jim Chadwick is the group editor, and I don't know what group this book falls under because Jim Chadwick, that name doesn't ring a bell, but that's, at least it's not the group editor that fired her by email one day and then had to rehire her. At least it's not, because I'm always suspect of that. But so because that guy continued to be her boss on Batgirl until that book was done. So that had to have been really comfortable feeling. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm liking it, but I like the idea. I'm frustrated with this go backwards story though. That part of it to me just seems strange. So, anything else you want to say about that?
No. And that was my only DC, so I'm definitely ready to hear about yours.
So I went on and picked up another issue of Dr. Fate. I know you'd gotten issue 1 and decided it wasn't for you. I'm
flipped through it.
Right. I'm more inclined to be in that boat too. As much as I love Dr. Fate, I like the idea of Dr. Fate. I've always liked Dr. Fate. Ever since I knew the character existed when I was a young kid, just because I liked the Egyptian stuff and whatnot. And this dude flying around with onks and crap like that, I thought was pretty awesome. Even though we haven't seen any of that kind of stuff in this, really. Yeah. And the art isn't my favorite. It's just kind of a strange kind of an art style. It's not my favorite. I think the dogs in this Anubis and whatnot looks more like some sort of a strange messed up mule than it does a dog to me. I mean, that's my interpretation of the thing. I mean, Trying to
In
find
my shop, I picked it up and I flipped through it, and I actually flipped through it 3 times because the part where he saves the plane, I couldn't tell that's what he was doing.
Right. Well, yeah, I had to read it twice to understand that it had crash landed. That he saved it enough that it skidded on the ground and
Yeah.
that he didn't just blow a wing off of it and it went crashing down. And he goes, "Oh well."
Yeah.
But and really, it's not the art so much. I would get around the art because actually, I mean, like this, where he's becoming. I don't mind this. I mean, it's clearly kind of feels more like a television animation in a way, kind of a thing. But I don't mind that. I can't find a good picture of the Anubis, but to me, oh, here it is. See, to me, this is like a crazed, sharp-toothed donkey.
Skinned. Yeah, skinned donkey.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a dog or a jackal to me. Well, there it almost looked like a jackal, but otherwise it doesn't. So that bugs me. But I don't really care for the writing. Paul Levitz is writing it, and it doesn't. I don't think he writes youth very well. Paul Levitz is probably, I'm guessing, he might be pushing 70. He clearly has to be in his late 60s. I mean, because he was writing all of these comic books when I was 10. So, yeah, I don't want to say it's because he's old, but I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I just don't think he does a very good voice of a youthful person. And this is a guy that's supposed to be a young adult. I mean, he's clearly gone through college. He's getting ready for med school. And and for somebody who's going to be going to med school, that means you're smart, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to realistically be going to med school. And it seems that him and his girlfriend are supposedly realistically going to be going to med school. Not that it's just some flight of fancy, like me saying, I think I'm going to try going to med school. I mean, it does not come across that way in it. I mean, he comes across as a pretty simple kind of a guy. And there's not interesting enough stuff happening. I get the whole, he's new, he's got to learn it and that sort of thing, but it's not done in a cool way, I guess. It's just, it isn't smart. And I think it needs to be smarter than what it is. And granted, I know that I'm holding it up against, that run of Dr. Fate that both of you read, that miniseries, the Countdown, the mystery. And that maybe that's unfair because that was written really well. But I don't.
Well, I even think about Doctor Strange and some of the other ones. Whenever you add magic, I mean, you have to pop it up and really make it exciting with that magic. And I think that's the thing, is it's too low of a note from everything I've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's some cool visual elements in this, but yeah, but the character isn't charming or interesting enough or dynamic enough. Whereas we're talking young superheroes, we're viewing this guy as a young superhero, and like the Marvels, Ms. Marvel and Camilla, she's just dynamic. She is a dynamic individual. You're interested in her immediately just because of her response, her reaction, and her whatever. This guy is just kind of, he's as drab as the cover is. The book is very gray and he's very monotone. He's not a dynamic personality that I'm excited to read about, unfortunately. And I want to, because I like the superhero. I just don't. Yeah. So, I'll be talking about it for a few more months because I've got 2 more issues that I'm getting. But when I go to do my next order, this won't be on it. And if it suddenly picks up again, I can always scramble back to get it. But I think good call. I think good call in your case, Mikey. You didn't like the first issue. There was nothing changed in this issue to suddenly, I would think, to make you change your mind. So comics.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and remember, kids, charisma is not a dump stat. I mean, that's it's what's really crazy about these is some of these characters are catching us. I mean, like we said in the last book, Gale made the characters pop. Camilla is, like you said, the best example of it.
Yeah,
is right when you read it, you fall in love with her. She's so quirky, so awesome. you can't have a vanilla character. I mean, this you can't have the 66 characters
No.
in this format.
And I don't mean to keep picking on Paul Levitz, the writer, but that was
Yeah.
kind of my feeling about he was writing World's Finest, during the New 52,
Oh.
the team up of Power Girl and Huntress. I got that for like 9 issues, and I had to drop it because it was the same way. They were one note. They were this one thing, and there was no variation on that. That's all they were. And I don't know. You got to be more dynamic than that now.
Yeah.
There's too much out there, too much competition, in my opinion, to try that.
And I'll admit too, I'm somewhat shallow on when it comes to art too, because when I think back, I mean, I didn't know much about Fate. I seen him in some cartoons and a couple comic books, but he has an iconic look because of that helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wasn't getting that off of this either. Is that it just there was a couple images people would post, the magic image,
Sure.
and yeah, they would be nice. It'd be colored great, but still it comes down to the outfit and that too.
Right. It's like what it is when he first puts the helmet on, they'll draw this picture of this great bright colored aura around him, and you're thinking, yeah, that's cool. He's donning power, yeah, whatever. And then it goes back to him. He's in black pants, a gray sweatshirt, and that helmet, and a weird thing on his chest whizzing around, and that's it. I mean, I'm assuming that's going to change. He's not always going to be that. I mean, because this is like he's had the helmet for like 3 hours at most in this story. So I mean, to some degree, that's being critical of something that I will assume is going to change, and as he comes to grip with the fact he's stuck being this character, that he will get a superhero costume at some point, and that will help, I think, a lot. But yeah, there is, like I said, there isn't enough there to keep it exciting for me to want to get to that point. So.
Also, does it feel like it's outside of the regular DC universe? And what I mean by that,
I mean, no, I mean,
all right. The reason why I say that is sometimes when somebody gets a power or like the magic or that, it doesn't feel like they can believe it. Like Superman isn't flying, like they haven't been saved by the Justice League, or that there's any other kind of reference. It seems like he is in a bubble in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, because personally, I don't live in a world where that stuff goes on to know whether or not if I saw people flying around and then suddenly I could, whether I think that was unbelievable or, I'm one of the lucky 0.009% that lucks out and has powers. I don't know how you're right. I mean, I don't know that I think he responds more to it. I can't believe this is happening to me, more so than I can't believe this is happening at all.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I mean, I will say that. I mean, it's more along the lines of, I can't believe this is happening to me. I must be losing my mind because this gold helmet's talking to me, and I could have sworn I was flying around, but I clearly am just going bonkers because of all the pressure I'm under.
Yeah.
Versus, I can't believe a person is flying. I don't.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, a book I really, really did like, Black Canary, issue number 2, Search and Destroy, which is great. That's a Iggy Pop reference, I will say, because that's a song that they sing. As great as the first issue was, lots of great dynamic art in it. The coloring's great the art by Annie Wu, the coloring by Luthridge. We get more story, we get more background on some of these characters. The prior lead singer shows up to the band that they attempted to have before that fell apart, and they ended up with Black Canary in the band. They've kind of been hiding low since they've decided that their little guitarist is being hunted by somebody. So we get this kind of interesting page towards the beginning of the book it's like a music rag, and it's talking about how they've dropped out of the scene and now suddenly they're starting to show back up again. What has changed? that sort of thing, which I really like. There's a great sequence of pages in here where Dinah is she's bleaching her hair. They show her bleaching her roots which I think is fabulous, because I've always liked the fact that back in the day, Black Canary was actually a brunette and she wore a wig. She was actually, she had dark hair. And I don't know why I like that. I just did. I liked the fact that she was a brunette, because I don't really care for blondes. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But it shows her, dyeing her roots, and they're all like, "Oh my gosh, you're just like crazy," because she's there bleaching her roots and whatnot. And I don't know. It was a fight. It was an interesting scene to hint back to the fact that she really isn't a blonde. Yeah. I just figured they had. But there's some other cool stuff that goes on, and it really interesting at the end of this. And this is the one thing I don't know that I care for. At the end of this, they jump one of the guys that's been hunting them. These people are hunting him are all in stealth mode. And I think there's actually two groups of people we're going to find out they're hunting him. But this one group, she gets to jump on and beats the guy up. And it's her ex-husband, which I was really hoping that whole story would just kind of disappear. They admitted in the first book that she had a husband, but I thought that would all, that she's part of Team 7 and this secret government thing, because they didn't really care for that. That's about the time I decided I didn't like reading Birds of Prey and the New 52 and stuff, because I really wasn't keen on that whole thing. I'm a Black Canary Green Arrow shipper. I'll say that right now. Granted, they need to fix Ollie a lot more before that could happen, but that's still where my roots lie. So that part I'm not super keen on. But I'm curious to see how these creators handle that part of it. But if you like the first issue, the second issue is just as awesome. I just love everything about it. I love the rock and roll vibe. They keep asking her about, what's your past like? She's making them take training. She's showing them how to shoot a pistol and stuff. The keyboardist is like a dead shot. She just, she's like pissed that she has to even attempt to shoot it. She's shooting while Dinah's off looking at something because she thinks they're being spied on. She comes back and all the targets, they're all bullseyes all the way across all of them and stuff. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, I really like the book. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to have to buy a second issue because there's a poster in the middle I have to pull out, and I'm not going to pull it out of my issue. Yeah. So I'll probably spend $2.99 so I can have the tour poster. But if you pay attention to a lot of your DC books, you'll see the tour poster stuck up places. Here's half of it. That's half the tour poster right there. And the other half is, the inside is like a little brochure on where are they now and what are they doing, which is kind of fun. Yeah. And then of course the bottom half of the poster. Yeah, I can't pull it out of my book. I have to pull it out of the second one. Because I don't want to have one of those collections where you go, oh wow, is the poster in there?
Yeah. All your Partridge Family ones.
Right. They're all gone. No kidding. Yeah. But no, I'm really digging. Really excited. Absolutely love everything about it. I'm curious. I think if it's not next issue after that, we have an artist change for a little bit. Pierre Guerrera is going to be doing the art on it. We'll see what that ends up being like. Because a lot of what makes this book work for me is the artist, and because she kind of pays attention to fashion and style and the little things having a vibe to them, which I think is, pretty cool, because they aren't in costume. They're not, wearing superhero costumes, so they have to look like something. So, cool stuff.
Yeah, I had not known that Black Canary's hair was supposed to be dark until it was Justice League Justice.
Oh,
where Ollie and her, are having a relationship. She comes in and she's got her blonde wig on, so he's putting in his earplugs, and it's, really Clayface who was disguised. And she's like, "Why did you think that it was, what did you think was going on?" He goes, "Oh, I thought we were role playing because you had your blonde hair on, so you're dark."
Right.
So I was like, "Oh, okay."
Right. Yeah. They haven't shown her wearing the wig for a long time. She's been dyeing her hair for quite some time now. Right. But yeah, all through the 80s and stuff and whatnot, she was still wearing the wig, or not wearing it at all, and would just go around as a brunette. But yeah, then then hair products got good enough, I guess, that she went blonde. So
well, rock and roll lifestyle.
yeah.
Are there other inside? You mentioned the cover is Iggy Pop. Is there other music references on the inside that if you know the industry, it's a better comic?
I didn't catch any on the first read through. Of course, I got these books today, so I'm reading through them pretty quickly. To have something to talk about while we're here on Friday. So if there were any other references in this one, I missed it. I mean, but they could be there.
Yeah. I didn't know if the writer was sneaking more stuff in, if she knows the industry.
Well, I think both. I mean, I think they have homage type things in them. Right. There certainly were in the first one too. Just little, wink and nods to, the kind of rock and roll punk type scene in one way or another. So, right. Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends on if you have the same tastes as the creators do. You might know some of that, some of that stuff there. Yeah. Picked up the second issue of Robin, Son of Batman. Still really enjoying it. Really enjoyed the art. This issue wasn't as good as issue number 1 was. Issue number 1 really, to me, just felt like the natural progression of what's Robin going to spend his time doing, because, Bruce Wayne is gone right now. Batman's gone right now, so he's got to do something. So this was like the natural progression. This one felt less that way. We definitely get a full sense of what this book is going to be about. He had this year of blood that he had to go on. It was his final trials to become, the full assassin that he was going to be, the Damian Al Ghul. And so he's slowly going to go through and right all of those wrongs, because pretty much all the stuff he did was really bad, heinous stuff. So he's going to attempt to fix as much stuff as he can of that. And in this issue, he's going back to someplace in South America, I believe. He stole the head of this stone guardian, and he actually cleaves it off the guardian's shoulders. It wasn't just a statue. I mean, it was an actual, it would come to life like a golem and attack evil stuff. And as a younger man during the Year of Blood, he lopped the head off of it and stole it. And when he took the head off, of course, it quit animating and protecting the village. And so the village gets overrun by cartels and lots of really, bad drug runners, that sort of thing. So he comes back, he takes the head out of the island of Ghul and takes the head back there to put it back on the statue, and it reanimates. And of course it thinks he's a bad guy, so it starts attacking him. The daughter of Nobody is in this, and they end up teaming up to a degree in the issue, because the golem is so out of control trying to take him out that it's starting to hurt villagers, and she's begrudgingly being the hero by protecting that. And really what she wants to do is she wants to net out maximum justice on Damian, because of course Damian killed her father. Well, she's figured out what he's up to, and so now she really wants to see him fix all of these wrongs, and then she's going to exact extreme justice on him. And she pretty much tells him that, look, I'm going to make you do all this stuff. I'm going to make you fix all these things you did this whole Year of Blood, because he has this giant room of trophies that are gory trophies. She's going to make him fix all that stuff, she tells him, and then she's going to, he's going to meet real justice. And he's like, well, what the hell do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I brought the head back? I mean, he's kind of like, girl, you're stupid. So that's going to be kind of the plot going forward, is them going to whatever the next thing is and fixing it, and him having to deal with, Nobody along with him. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, I enjoyed it, but like I said, it didn't feel as strong as the first issue, as being like this thing. The dialogue is a little more stilted here than it was in the first issue, and I think that's just something I think has to do with the fact is that Gleason, this is the first book he's writing too. So I mean, I think there's some kinks to still be worked out and whatnot, but I'm still liking it. I'm still happy to be getting it as a Batman and Robin replacement. So.
I saw one photo of the young Nobody's costume, and I felt the father's was so much stronger. I was a little disappointed by it.
Well, yeah, because his is, I mean, the only thing that they really have in common is the mask with the multiple eyes on it. Hers is much brighter. You know, it's like almost pastel blue. The reds verge more on being a magenta kind of a thing. Yeah.
Does it have some of the same stealth abilities? And
oh yeah, it's completely
right.
Yeah. She goes completely invisible. You don't see her unless she wants to be seen, unless the right things come in contact with her to disrupt it, which does happen, and that's why she ends up, coming out. She's got some energy things on her palms that she can, pretty much nuke you with, kind of a thing. But it's not intimidating, like nobody's was. I mean, she's not the assassin. I mean, it comes out like she makes it sound like she's gonna kill him, and he's like, yeah, all right, I don't think you killed anybody, have you? And she's really quiet, and he's like, yeah, huh? And she's like, well, there's always a first time. So they could be fun because they both have this attitude thing going. So they could be fun as far as that goes. So yeah. Martian Manhunter, I'm still really enjoying this. Written by Williams, Ed Burrows on art. That's one of the reasons why I like it. I like Ed Burrows. I think he is a really solid superhero artist. So I enjoy the stuff that he is doing. They're changing, really changing Martian Manhunter's origin. I believe in this. Our basic understanding has always been is he's the last Martian.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I think he thought he was the last Martian. I think somebody tricked him into thinking he's the last Martian. I think there's a whole bunch of Martians, and they're all over the world. And somebody has flipped a psychic switch and turned them all on to be monsters, to be assassins, basically. Because right now there's a terrorist attack going on all over the world. The Justice League shows up, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Cyborg show up because Martian Manhunter sent out this psionic thing saying, oh my gosh, this is happening everywhere at once. So they track him down to go, okay, how come you know this is happening all at once? And he's basically like, because I knew it was happening because it was going to happen to me too. They used me or something like that. So they haven't been clear on it, but there's something along those lines. They get in a big fight with him, or they think they get in a big fight with him. He basically makes them think that he's fighting them, Wonder Woman, and they're all fighting this epic battle. And they actually think they defeated him and kill him by accident in the book. Meanwhile, he's sneaking off because he plans on killing himself. There's this, NASA has this engine, this experimental engine that basically kind of runs on a black hole. It generates a black hole to propel, and it's not working right. What it really does is it annihilates like 99.9% of everything inside of it, which is a problem, except for him, because he's like, that's great. I'm going to stand inside it. You're going to turn it on, and we're going to end me before I become a monster that all these other stuff is. So how that leads into if people remember from last issue, there was this guy called Mr. Biscuits that was hiding out in like the ghetto, and kids were giving him cookies. I think Mr. Biscuit is a Martian too, because he's all elongated and whatnot. And Mr. Biscuits feels like he needs to go somewhere, but he's not sure exactly why. He has the kids take him down to the train station, and he's acting all weird there. He gets really, he steps in front of the train, and the train should run him over, but he sticks his hand out like Superman does, basically, and the train just gets squashed like it's no big deal. The kids are freaking out and running off because, of course, the cops are coming, except for this one little girl. And he's like, I've got a problem. I think I might be a bad guy, but I really want to be a good guy. Can you help me out? And so the little girl and him are running off away from the cops now. So that'll be an interesting story. But I think he's a Martian too, that whatever the seed that was planted in him to be a terrorist hasn't quite worked right either. So that's an interesting change in Martian Manhunter. But I'm really enjoying it though. I'm liking it. So that's my DC books. That's the DC books that I got. But yeah, other than the Dr. Fate not meeting what I want it to be, it's some pretty good books coming out of because those were all new, pretty much new books from the DCU, and I'm liking them so far. They're a pretty good job. 2 issues in. So, any DC news we want to talk about? To be quite honest, I haven't really dug through all of the the chaos of San Diego Comic-Con. You know, I've just kind of, when the important things show up again, then I'll, you know, whatever. But I didn't really hear anything.
I broke down and saw the trailer for Superman versus Batman and the Suicide Squad. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I'm trying not to build myself up too much. I was trying not to build myself up for Ant-Man, but people keep telling me, go see Ant-Man. It was excellent. So
yeah.
DC wise, no, I can't think of much. I did catch that Batman is now a god in the Justice League comic book.
Yeah. Luke, who's not here with us today, is chatting at us, and he keeps saying, you know, Justice League 42. That's all.
Yeah.
I know the art in that book is awesome with Jason Fabak on it, but I don't know.
And I know that they reveal, or he finds out Joker's real name. He doesn't say it. He just asks a question to the computer, and the computer tells him. So it'll be interesting to see if that develops into something, or with the continuity not being tied in the way it is anymore. It'll be interesting to see now how all these books, diverge from each other.
Yeah. It will. It'll be. I don't know. It's one of those kind of a mixed bag kind of a thing for me.
Because I understand certain characters like Batman will have to be consistent through many of the Bat books. It's the same with Superman and Wonder Woman. But the fact that it's still Bruce Wayne in the Justice League and Gordon in the Batman books, it is interesting. It shows that there is some separation point. So
I'm kind of looking over the comments and whatnot, and there's some concern over the Dr. Fate because DC hasn't been doing well with their teen books, their teen hero books. I don't know if I would consider Dr. Fate a teen hero book though, because he's not a teen.
No, he's got to be 25 to 27, I think, graduate school.
Well, even if he's really smart, above
23, yeah.
Right, so young superhero, but not teen superhero.
No.
But that was Matt Cameron was concerned with that. And I agree. I don't think they've been very successful with, with a lot of it. I think they're getting more youthful heroes, but not teen heroes that are successful. Because I think Batgirl's successful. She's now a more youthful character, but not teen.
And I guess that's the thing I'm trying to think of too. I mean, there's Damian, and then Batgirl. It's
Teen Titans, which the Teen Titans I'm assuming they're actual teenagers. They are, I don't know, 17, 18, 19, around there, I would guess.
Yeah.
But I don't pay any attention to that book. So
I guess that's only teenagers that I could think of. It seems like there is a huge gap otherwise, from 10 to 25 or 23 or whatever.
Right, and you think that'd be a market that they would embrace in some sense, that they would get more of that. That's the reason we have Robin in the first place. Batman didn't have Robin to start out with. They created Robin because they wanted a reason for kids to read that book. That there would be a character they go, oh, hey, that could be me. I could be, hanging with the big guy or whatever. I think that's why they have those characters originally, anyway. In our modern age, we look at that and go, that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not very responsible to have some adult dragging around some kid into all this craziness, but it is what it is.
And when you're younger, you always want to be a little bit older. So, I could see that the really young kids who are just starting out would like a teenager, as opposed to, they're not just thinking, I want to be the 25-year-old or 50-year-old that Batman is.
Yeah. Looking over more comments here. We have to do VC. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's pick the hot topic. Kayla wants to know if we have any thoughts on The Killing Joke being made into an animated film. Are you familiar with The Killing Joke? I mean,
Yeah.
beyond. I mean, you've read The Killing Joke.
I own it only digitally and read it. Um, and I understand the what I've heard people talk about trigger points, and I understand that.
Mhm.
I think though that we're going to get a totally bastardized version of it. It's going to be watered down, and it's going to be the thing that kills Alan Moore. I mean, it will be this. It'll be the colorful steak that kills him.
Well, because is it like what Tim Sales? Is that who's?
Yeah.
To me, that seems really strange. I mean, is he in charge or is he actually animating it? So is it going to be in the animated style of like the old Batman comic? Because that'll be weird.
No, I'm sure it is going to be modernized. It is going to be, like I said, bastardized. I mean, the only thing that'll make it the Killing Joke is it'll have Joker in it. I bet it gets so far away because we've seen that with some of the other ones. Some have been close, but I mean, the Batman versus Robin was a bastardized version of Court of Owls. So
yeah. I guess it really depends on, I mean, that's part of it is what are they really going to tell us? My personal opinion on it, fine, whatever. I don't have a problem with that being made. And I know that there has been, from my comic book friends that I, follow on Twitter and whatnot, there's been plenty of conversation, some of it heated as far as, how that all is. Some of it gets thrown back to the whole Batgirl cover thing. And to me, there's a huge difference between those two subject matters, in my opinion. Batgirl is a Batgirl comic celebrating Batgirl and all the cool stuff that's about Batgirl with a new team on it that's going in a completely new direction that's much brighter and whatnot, and celebrating that diabolical Joker on that book made zero sense and was completely inappropriate for that book in my opinion. Whereas this movie isn't being billed as celebrating Batgirl or something like that, and then it being the story of the Killing Joke, which would be totally screwed up if that's what they did.
Yeah.
I get a lot of people like the Killing Joke. It's kind of a celebration of the monster that is the Joker and just how far the Joker could push Batman too. Right. And I can see that. The Killing Joke isn't my favorite book. It's fine for what it was. I agree with a lot of people who comment on the fact that I don't want to hear people say, "Oh, it's the book that made Barbara Gordon who she is," because it isn't. It isn't. I mean, if you want to watch a video that I think reasonably level-headedly describes Barbara Gordon and Jim Gordon in The Killing Joke, go watch Sparklefist's thing. I mean, clearly she doesn't like it. She doesn't like the book. She doesn't like the make the movie. I mean, she makes that very apparent. But she also makes a good point as describing these are the pages that she's in. These are the panels that she's in. There's no way you can say she's an object. I mean, and to me, that's not good writing. I mean, if I want to be critical about the book, that aspect of the book is poorly written because she really is just an object. She could be anything. It really wouldn't matter. Other than they tried to make it personal, I mean, by saying it's Barbara Gordon, but it was an object. She wasn't even an actual human being in the thing. As far as how they use her as a story element in the book. So whatever. So, but I mean, go ahead and make. I think there's a lot of other cooler stuff they could do, but it doesn't surprise me that they're gonna do it. It's really popular. It sells really well. They keep printing it because it's still selling really well. For me, like it for the right reasons, and I feel like you need to admit to the problems with it.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to, that's fine. But we don't need to be get in an argument about it either, because I don't think there's any I don't think there's anything constructive that's going to come out of that if it's going to be an argument, because everybody has their own view on the book and whatnot. But I don't have a problem with them making the movie, because to me it's different. I mean, I thought it was inappropriate. That cover was inappropriate for the book. I have no problem with the fact that they pulled that cover off that book, because I thought it was inappropriate. It has zero to do with censorship on either one of these things, airing people's opinion on whether you like something or not. And the people who are saying they don't like the idea of them making a Killing Joke movie, I don't think any of those people said they shouldn't make it. I think all those people just said, I don't like it, until the internet gets involved and then it gets out of control and gets crazy and people threaten people. And that's all just, bullshit stuff anyway, that nobody needs to have anything to do with, on either side, whether you like it or dislike it, as far as that part of it goes. But to me, as far as that goes, it's two different things. So for me, it's not controversial for them to put the Killing Joke out, as a movie. I think most comic book fans have some level of understanding what that book's about and what happens in that book. If those things bother you, you'd be nuts to go and watch that. I think, the chances of me watching the Killing Joke are really slim, because I don't know that I need to watch, if they're going to portray that stuff, then I need to watch that in animated form. I don't know.
And I just can't see them touching at all on that subject, especially after the controversy of the cover. I can't believe that DC would venture that.
Yeah, I think they will, though, because the controversy of that cover also generated a lot of energy. That's why they're doing the Killing Joke, I think. I mean, I could be quite honest. I mean, it's like, okay, they admit that, the artist didn't like that and we pulled it off of that book because that was inappropriate. But at the same time, there are lots of people out there signing petitions saying, keep that cover and all that. So those people obviously have energy for the Killing Joke. They love the Killing Joke. So let's make a movie because it's going to sell. And why couldn't they make the movie, rated R? I mean, isn't Batman, Dark Knight Returns, isn't it? Isn't it rated R? I'll have to look and see.
I do not know.
That's not a kiddie cartoon.
No, I guess I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, see, I don't think they're going to make it as a kiddie cartoon. I hope not.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how you can make it safe and sane for, people 10 and below. I don't know how you would do that.
All right. No, it's a good thing you brought up the Dark Knight, because in fact, even when you said it, I blanked that there was even the videos or the DVDs, you want to say, on those. So, oh gosh. All right, now it totally changes my mind on that. Yeah. I wasn't thinking they would even touch that close.
Yeah.
I can see you on that one. All right.
So I mean, because I don't know how you tell the Killing Joke without having that stuff in there. How do you have Joker push Batman to that point where at the end of the book you're going, oh, guys, is he gonna gack him at the end of this thing or not? Without that, I mean, I think you could write it and push him that way anyway. But if you're telling anything close to Alan Moore's story, that's how they push him to that limit.
Yeah.
But that's my take in a nutshell on the whole Killing Joke thing, for whatever it's worth.
And like usual, I'm late to the party on some of this idea, so I'll have to give that more thought to give it any serious talk.
Yeah. Let's talk some Marvel books. You didn't get any Marvel books this week.
Correct. I'm not the Marvel fanboy. I did get my Marvel. It was old, once again, like late to the party.
Sure.
I got my Agents of Atlas, and because they're restarting the comic with Taylor writing it and the artist Pugh.
Pew. Yeah.
Pew. So I'm excited to jump back on the book and see what they do with it. It's originally I think it's a quirky idea to have these 50s style characters that are out of time basically. It's almost a twist on that Captain America. So it'll be interesting to see what this all new, all whatever Marvel.
All new, all different.
Oh yeah,
Nothing will be the same.
yeah. So I should at least,
every one of those books you'll open up and go, oh my gosh, this is all new, all different.
I figure I'll at least get 5 issues out of that then. So, but no Marvel.
So I picked up Moon Knight issue number 17. I'm told this is the last issue. It just felt like another issue. For a while, I thought they were telling us there was some sort of overreaching kind of umbrella type of a story about his conflict with the god that he's kind of working for, the powers that he's supposedly working for. Some of that happens in here, but it doesn't end making a lot of sense. You know, he beats up another person who's supposedly a god, you know, a female that's working for Kanush, or however you say the Egyptian god's name. Maybe they're destined to be together. He kicks the crap out of her. She tears him up pretty bad, and he kind of staggers off at the end. A spirit that looks like a ghost version of Moon Knight. They walk off at the end of the book. I don't know. This is weird. This issue was, had some cool elements in it, but wasn't particularly good. And if this was an ending, it didn't feel like any kind of ending whatsoever. But I keep getting told by people this was the last issue. So,
has Bunn told you that?
No, I guess I haven't asked him.
All right.
Maybe I'll make it.
We often talk about how writers end series, and we hate that some of them don't ever seem to end them right.
Right.
I mean, I don't know all of his work, but from what I heard, it sounds like he does good endings too.
Well, sure, when you know something's coming to whatever, but it would have helped if at the end of it said the end.
Yeah.
It doesn't. This temple-y kind of place is burning down, and he's staggering off, and like I said, at the end of the book, he's staggering off, and a spirit version of himself is walking him along, telling everything's going to be all right now. And there's a little moon at the bottom of it. I mean, I don't know if that means it's supposed to be I don't know.
Yeah, the waxing moon.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's something written maybe on that wall, maybe a secret written there. So
if I stare hard enough.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
So if this was the last issue, it just kind of left stuff hung up there. It leaves us knowing that this spirit that he works for employs a lot of people besides just Moon Knight, and those other aspects of this entity aren't pleasant. They represent everything that Moon Knight doesn't represent. So, but yeah, it was a weird way to end the book and to say it's done. I don't know. So don't have much else to say about that. It puzzles me.
In the middle of that O, was that a pair of shoes like hanging off of a wire? What's in the middle of the O for Moon Knight?
That's breaking glass.
Oh, that's part of the glass.
Yeah, so it's like a stained glass window. You got your Moon Knight aspect here. You've got the bird, the bird skull element of the god there. Our dapper dressed Moon Knight in the middle there, and it's a stained glass window and it's busting out.
All right, I saw that part, but it just looked like that was supposed to be something special.
Yeah, so. Nope, it's just the stained glass window falling out. And the other book.
I'll leave the evaluation of covers to you then on that.
And the other Marvel book I got was the long-awaited, fabled book from 2014 that came out in the middle of 2015, issue 22 of the acclaimed Hawkeye series. Matt Fraction and Aja and Hollingsworth. I really enjoyed it. I really love this book. This issue was no different. Loved it to death. The way it ended made me just go, okay, when's the next arc coming, because that's what I want to read. I have the first issue of the newest run of Hawkeye, where they kind of grab elements of this one to go forward. Clearly, they had no idea what the plot was at the ending of this plot for that book. I don't think. I don't know. The new version is a very, very weak homage to this version of it, I think. But anyway, back to this one. Great ending to this one. They get in the final battle with the Dude Bros. All the Russian tracksuit guys in this. They level some threats. Pizza Dog eats some people up. Kate Bishop comes in at the end of the day. She looks just like Clint. She's covered in Band-Aids and whatnot, wearing sunglasses. She comes at the end of the day and basically helps kick everybody's ass. They beat up the final bad guys. At the very end, towards the very end of this, there's an interesting element that's been happening quite a bit towards the end of this book. Fisk, Kingpin, and a whole bunch of other crime lord type guys, the Owl, but most of them are, there's a guy named Tombstone or something like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of those kind of that mid-tier crime boss, they're more of the crime boss type villains are all sitting around, and they've been having this meeting about whether or not they want to go after Clint, because he's an Avenger. And so they're taking a vote, and this vote's been going on for a lot of comics. And in this issue, you see all of them take the vote. They're all saying aye. They get to Kate Bishop's dad. Kate Bishop's dad is secretly one of these crime boss people. Oh. He even says yes. And at the end of it, Fisk clumps his fist down and goes, okay, it's agreed. We're in the Avenger killing business. And that's towards the end of this book. And that's after they've beaten up the assassin that was trying to kill them off so they could take Clint's building, so they could flatten it down and put a shopping center in or something like that. So there's these story elements that would be really cool going forward. Never going to see those. We're never going to see those elements. But still a beautiful book, beautifully drawn, great sequences in it by Aja. It just had all the same elements that have been in the series for the last 21 issues, and I just thought it was excellent. And I think I don't know exactly what all happened for this book to get shut down. My most understanding from what I can filter through, that it was editorial. There was an editorial change. There was a guy was editor on it and was giving them the free reign to kind of do this very, very different book. And that editor changed. And when that editor changed, things fell apart pretty fast. They didn't make their productions times. Seemingly Matt Fraction was a whole lot less interested in writing it. And but it's really cool. A special book, I think, amongst superhero books, something that just really comes across as really different. So
that seems like when you want to get rid of the editor, then.
Well, yeah, it's kind of strange, right? Because it's like gotten Eisner nominated for all kinds of stuff, one of the best-selling trades. I don't know. But that, the editor that was in charge of that thing to start out with moved on. He left Marvel, I believe, to go off and do to greener pastures or something. So, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I really liked it. It was a happy ending in a way. I mean, Clinton's brother screws him, steals all of the money at the last moment. But even that's a happy ending, because he's off on a sailboat someplace calling him and telling him what he's done. And he's like, I'm going to get you. And he's like, no, you're not. And he has with him, there was a lady who lived downstairs from them that they used to go and watch her television because they could never get Clinton's television to work right. They'd watch her television, and she had two young kids. She and the kids are with him. He's hooked up with her, and they're off living a happy life. They've got millions of dollars, and they're going to disappear for forever, kind of thing. So, I mean, in a way, he comically, screws his brother, but it's kind of a happy ending too, because at least, and that's my Marvel books.
And Barney's always been an interesting character. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I liked him when he was a Dark Avenger. So it's interesting to hear that little twist on it.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Did they still keep all the way to the end? Clint was having trouble hearing.
yes, at the very end of it. I mean, there are scenes in this where if he's not reading lips, he's got his back turned to Kate, and Kate saying something to him. Her word bubbles are blanks. There's nothing in them at all because it's from his perspective, and he can't hear because he's not looking at her. And then it shows him later on when he's on the phone, he's wearing big, huge, heavy powered hearing aids that he has cranked up, and he still has problems hearing, but at least he hears some sound, out of that. So,
all right, that's interesting that they carried that one through pretty well, though.
Yeah, that element they definitely they definitely hung on to.
Right.
So, yeah. Any Marvel news?
Some people arguing on their thoughts on the Apocalypse for the new X-Men movie.
The Mighty Morphin Power Ranger thing?
Yeah.
I saw lots of that. I mean, I don't have an opinion because I don't really know the whole Apocalypse stuff and whatnot well enough to really.
Well, and I did see that the director, I believe, answered to it and just said, he thought he needed somebody smaller that was relatable, that people could follow, not just be feared. And I mean, I think he even hinted towards the end that at the end of it, he, because he physically changes, so they may do some CGI and change him into like a battle scene and make him bigger.
Yeah. So I just got a comment from Hans, Captain Strangelove, going, "What? Yeah. You're not at the Ant-Man opening? No, and neither are you. So unless you went to the early showing or something. So no, I don't. Ant-Man's a movie I don't plan on going to the theater to see. I mean, I know I'll see it because I see all superhero movies at some point, but yeah. I don't know."
I did see that the sales were a little down. I mean, it's still going to make impressive money, but it was well below what they projected it. I mean, it's definitely well under Age of Avengers, and I think they said it's closer to like Thor or Thor 2.
Well, because it's a single unknown character, right? I mean, that's part of it. The team movies always do better than the single hero movies, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So a lot of people I hear are watching it and going, "Yep, it was fine. Now I'm ready for Civil War."
Yeah.
So
I could definitely see that. I just to touch back on DC, I did see that Hellblazer Constantine, the TV show Constantine, did get an Emmy nomination. So for being canceled on CBS, it was evidently did well enough that
production looks. There's something about the way one of the episodes looked that they got a nod for that. Yeah.
But then again, so did Shield. So that's what made me think about it too, because Shield got some nominations.
Ouch! That's a backhanded compliment. Now, wow. But it was an Emmy for basically for a little thing. They got an Emmy nod for something that will not be shown on television. That they have 2 Emmy things. They give out the Gearhead Emmys the day before. That's where that Emmy gets presented at, and then there's the Emmy where it has actors and actual TV shows, and that's so. Yeah. But I mean, good for them. I thought it was a good looking show.
Yeah.
Back to DC stuff. I hear they cast somebody to play Atom Smasher.
Edge Copeland.
Now is that Atom
the wrestler?
Is that on? Is he going to be on in the Flash, or is he going to be in Green Arrow?
I believe it's Green Arrow.
That's interesting.
Because in Green Arrow, I think it's him, and there was. I'll have to see if I can find it on my phone real quick. There was a couple that were cast just recently.
Okay.
It really makes it feel like Arrow this next season is going to be a little more sci-fi, maybe a little more closer to Flash.
Oh, so the first episode of Arrow is called Green Arrow.
Yes.
Have you seen his new costume? Looks pretty
Yeah,
good.
it kind of reminded me of the Lemire Sorrentino run.
Right. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. So as far as that stuff goes, so that's interesting. That's interesting. They put Atom Smasher, who is huge heavyweight. I mean, if they make him anything like the comic book character, I mean, yeah, I'll be curious.
It appears I was wrong. It looks like it is the Flash.
The Flash, okay, so that makes a little more sense just because of how over the top that would be on.
So that's
yeah. Brandon is telling me it's the Flash.
All right.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll be. I mean, I'll have to watch. I mean, I watch the Flash when I catch it. I don't faithfully watch the Flash, but I like that character, so I'll probably tune in long enough to see what that's about. So, any other Marvel news? I can't think of anything in the same kind of boat as far as anything else. As far as
no, it was, I'm sure it'll come to us later as we
sure
go to speak on something else.
So let's move on to indies. I think we got a couple books that are the same.
Yeah, two at least. The end is near. Secret Identities.
The unfortunate penultimate issue of Secret Identities, issue number 6, because it is they are done with the book. Canceled. I don't know if canceled is the right word. The creators are canceling it at issue 7.
Because they're all jumping onto another project almost together, aren't they?
Oh, are they?
I was trying to remember.
The guys from Cal,
Cal
are on a new book, but not.
All right.
Best of my knowledge, these guys aren't.
That was my bad. That was Cal then.
So what do you think? What do you think, Mike?
Once again, another strong issue with, I mean, everything from how the coloring of everything in red, and then as you get to other pages in the blue, it has to be just that we didn't love it enough because
we didn't sell it. We didn't convince enough other people to buy it.
Yeah, it is an amazing piece, and it is surprising that the story. I mean, maybe it moved a little faster than what it had been because it seemed like a lot happened in this issue. So I don't know if they knew it was coming and forced it in here, or if that's how the story would have gone. But I mean,
the alien invasion that happens at the end of it.
Yeah. Well, that even the guy, the stalker or whatever, the good guy with all the eye holes and nobody look, that
Recluse.
He's like a
Recluse.
Yeah,
he's like a spider guy. He's like a spider. His arms are getting longer and hairier. I think he's a spider. I think he has to drink. I think he has to drink blood like a spider does. Yeah, he's slowly evolving. His face is getting all creepy. So he's kind of vampiric in a way. Yeah. But I think he's spider-like, and they're gonna send him into a bar to eat the bar. That's pretty awesome. Well, there's a bunch of criminals in there. Who cares,
Yeah. Once again, yes, you are a genius. You noticed like the spider that's here that I didn't until you said spider, and I'm flipping through.
Yeah, because then there's spider. Because of course he's the recluse, and so so as he's slowly, he's slowly, that picture of him slowly devolving. Yeah. And his limbs his hands keep getting longer.
So, I mean, it was good. I mean, we don't find out as much about the president's daughter. I mean, that kind of...
Aliens land. Oh, tell me that's not an awesome page. Come on, if you're a comic book fan of aliens, that sort of stuff, you're at ground level looking up as these things are raining down like meteors and landing. They have these big biomass type sword type things as they land in Toronto. So if you're Canadian in Toronto, you're screwed.
Which is great because that's what their ship is, or their base is made out of.
Yeah. Their base is in one of these things, and they gutted out one of these things. Yeah. The art in this is phenomenal as far as superhero. I mean, it's just top notch coloring, top notch inking. You're talking about the colors. You're right about the colors of the book. When they're inside the gut of their space station. You know, of course, it's all red because they're, clearly you're inside a body of something. So it would be red. Those blue pages you were talking about is when Whirlwind is kicking the crap out of a guy. And so, of course, it's all air. So, of course, make it blue. That makes it all. I mean, that's a great way to show panels. Them blowing around because he's blowing them all over the place. Smart paneling in this book. Great book. Of course, us pitching and selling it now doesn't matter because it's gone.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because there is tons of story we are not going to get.
Yeah.
Because besides this Whirlwind guy that's trying to find out who everybody is, so you can basically take them all out. Each of these heroes we get to see bits and pieces of them living these secret lives, beyond their secret identities, beyond their superhero identities, which was really interesting that these people are all walking around with this extra baggage. It makes them way more complex. And we're just not going to get to see that.
So with them canceling it, I mean, with Image, we'll still probably see a trade of this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I would guess. I guess they'll put out the first trade. And the next issue, there's the cover for the next issue. It's got them all standing there. Clearly, they're going to come together as a team and fight the alien invasion. I do notice that on this cover, they've got the Recluse looking, he's still looking messed up. One of his hands is still stretched out. Yeah. So
it really is interesting because I wonder, I mean, I guess they could always come back to this after the trade sells and they decide on the money after that. If that's the issue. I mean, who knows what else is the issue?
Yeah, I suppose. I didn't hear that was even an option, but I guess it could be. I mean, because it clearly says right there to be concluded.
Yeah.
So it's been cool. It's been cool. And I keep thinking about this stuff we're not gonna see because it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will cry. There'll be tears on that episode.
Yep. It'll be a sad, sad day. That's for sure. That's for sure.
The other one I think we had would be The Island.
Yep.
And this one I picked up today because I kept seeing more and more on Twitter that it was a must. So this is an $8 book.
Yeah, this is branded. This is a Brandon Graham spearheaded thing. It is $7.99. It is square backed. As far as people, because of course you're an $8 comic book. Holy crap, right? It is all comic or there's an essay in here also by Kelly Sue DeConnick. Yeah, it is hefty. I don't know when the next issue comes out. Is this actually gonna be a monthly thing?
I don't know either. I mean, I didn't hear hardly anything about it. All of a sudden, everybody told me to do it.
Brandon Graham basically said he wanted to make a book that was heavy metal, but not for 13-year-old boys. So, I mean, I don't know, as the audience, how many of you know the book Heavy Metal from back in the day when I was a kid and whatnot? It was cool. Had lots of awesome, great stuff in it. Had lots of Mobius in it and stuff like that. But it was also a pretty heavy TNA fest. That was part of making it adult and cool for, to be, the cool kind of edgy adult thing was for that to be an element of it. And not to say that that's not an element in this book too, because clearly there's a Brandon Graham story in here that's part of the multiple warheads thing. And one character's name is Sex, her first name is Sex, and her boyfriend, she bought a werewolf penis for, and they attached. I mean, it's attached to him. I mean, they sew it onto him. So he actually has two penises. He has his werewolf penis and he has his regular one, and which I love in that story where it shows the shadow of him going to the bathroom, and there's two streams, and he's like, "Damn it," because of course he's making a mess. Right? That's me being immature, I guess, but that was funny. And of course, it also makes him have dreams of being a wolf a lot. I mean, that's a reoccurring thing throughout all the multiple warhead stories. So What did you think of this? I mean, this is an anthology book. It's pretty hefty. Got some interesting stuff in it.
What I liked about it is that there is always a chance you're most likely going to find something you like because there is such a different variety. The thing I don't like about it is if you fall in love with a story, you may never get another taste of it. Because I don't know that this, I remember that in heavy metal books. I'm like, oh, that was an awesome story. And they always leave it open-ended. And then you never see the story again.
Yeah. When are you going to get the next piece?
Yeah.
So I read a lot of anthology books. This one I just picked up. I read pretty much whatever anthology book Vertigo is putting out at the time. I read Dark Horse Presents, which is their monthly anthology book too. The difference between this one and those others is every story in here is comic book length.
Oh,
so this is really 4 comic books.
Yeah.
In one. I mean, all of the issues in those other ones, the stories are, 3 to 6 pages kind of a thing.
Yeah.
These are full length. These are like 20 pages of a story in here or more. So I think that's excellent. You're not getting just this itty bitty tiny little piece. You actually get what would be the equivalent of full consumption of a comic put together in one thing. So what did you like in it?
I fell in love with the first story. I mean, that's the thing that really hooked me and made me say, oh, yeah, because I was thinking, oh, I can't wait for the next one to come out and see how this goes. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, I remember Heavy Metal. I may never see the end of the story.
That's the Emma Rios one, the ID, and it's about body swapping, thinking your body's ugly and having the potential opportunity to swap that body, pull your brain out and put it in your own body. But hey, guess what? She's in the next issue.
Oh, all right.
Because if you look at the back, in the back here, it says next issue, and it says Simon Rio, Emma Rios, and Ludrow. And Ludrow is the skater one, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Ludrow was the skater one, and so you're gonna see both of them will be back. So yeah, that was a cool story, all in reds and stuff.
That was the only thing I would say too is with it being all in red, there were some parts that because of the chaos of it, I was having trouble figuring out what it was about.
Right. Well, the part that I have problems with is they're sitting in like a cafe.
Yes.
And there's like a riot outside and it busts inside the cafe. It was hard to tell what was going on at certain points.
Even when the young girl freaks out at the very beginning, when everybody wants to leave, and she's like, no, I could tell she knocked over the table or if she was changing the physics. It almost felt like that to me, like physics was being manipulated.
Yeah.
And, because we didn't actually get to the body swapping a little bit further, I mean, so I didn't know quite what the story was going to be about.
Sure.
So, and the fact that there is no body.
The opening scene of that's great too. The floating brainstem there, which is an actual picture, just dyed red, but that's an actual picture of a brainstem, which is pretty awesome. But then, of course, they're eating brains
at the diner. Yeah,
they're at the diner eating brains. That's a great open shot. Yeah.
So and that is, I mean, that was a great way to get you caught right at the beginning. The later stories, I remember the knife something ninja.
Oh, what is it? The knife that he's a mummy.
Dagger-proof mummy. Yeah,
dagger-proof mummy. That's what it was. Yeah,
that's it. Dagger-proof mummy. That kind of story reminded me. I used to get these anthology, I guess is the best way of saying it, of Japanese comic books. And it would just be all these chopped up, so you just get a little blurb of these stories that basically almost started in the middle. You get a little bit, it would just be done. And you might get a little piece or a taste of it every issue or whatever. And it had that feel to me. It was one of those, here's a little story, intense fighting, boom, and we just kick out of it. And I'm like, it's things like that that catch me off guard that I kind of like. So.
Yeah. There's our dagger-proof mummy fighting a bunch of cat thugs.
and it being in just truly that black and white, compared to, we got this wonderful flowing color, and other series, the pure red at the beginning. So each one, I mean, it just had a taste for each different one. So I don't know.
Yeah. And if you're a Brandon Graham fan, of course, you need to pick this up because it's just got lots of pure Brandon Graham in it. Marginally random, doesn't always make a lot of sense. The art is so incredibly busy. There's so much weird little things going on, things that are just quirky stuff. Why do people have numbers on their heads? Why, I mean, it's just, somewhat rude and crass, but at the same time, witty and full of just silly puns. Yeah. I'm a Brandon Graham fan. I love the stuff. So I will be reading this again. I did read this, but I had to read through it fairly quickly to have stuff read for tonight. So I'll be reading over the Brandon Graham stuff again, just because there's so much little things going on in the background of it that I always enjoy that. So,
and I would agree with you too. I mean, it's a sit down long piece and then reread piece. So.
But I mean, that $8, that's
I felt it was worth every dollar. I mean, yeah. I'm the one that picked it up full price at the last minute. So,
but like I said, it's 109 pages.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's stuff going on every page, so it's not like it doesn't have ads in it and stuff. So, I mean, for me, it's worth it. Of course, I will admit I'm getting this first issue. I got the steep 50% discount on it, so it only cost me $4. But
well, and we had that discussion. Is it better to release a 99-cent very thin comic book, or do you get a thick one with a whole bunch of different material in it?
Right.
At a heftier price? What are we as a community willing to pay?
Yeah.
And there's IDW. My Monster Motors was, I think, 2 or 3 issues bound together. So I mean, it wasn't much, but it's still a $6 book. So I bought it as a $6 book bound as opposed to individual issues.
Right.
And that got me buying the single issues the next time it came around. So. I'm leaning a little more towards this stuff for independent. So long as when I flip through it originally, that I like it or get caught on it, And the red issues alone, that first story, yeah, it caught me and made me buy it. So
Christina says that it's supposed to be a monthly anthology. So that might be a little tough on the pocketbook. I mean,
yeah.
That's like buying 4 books, right?
Yeah.
Well, $8. So that's
for me too. Yeah.
3.5 books. Yeah. Okay. So, well, yeah, 2 books, but you're getting twice as more than twice as much stuff for it. But still, that's.
But it makes me say, when I flip through the Dr. Fate, I thought about it, and I'm like, I'd rather spend that money on this other book. I mean, it's making me take those peripheral ones off the edge. I don't know why I'm picking this up book. I finally drop it and I purchase that book instead.
Yeah. Christina's saying that it's supposed to be a monthly, but you never know with Brandon Graham. But Brandon Graham hasn't committed to doing art in every issue. So we might be okay. I mean, if other people, the people who are going to be in it every month, then you have better chances of it staying on track. But yeah, we'll definitely see, as far as that goes. So
especially it's going to be interesting if it's 4 separate issues, basically 4 comic books in each one. That'll be a great one and keep you hooked. But
yeah,
if it changes, that's when you make a decision to change, I guess.
Right. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head if I've ordered more than that 1 issue. I'm sure I have, but I don't remember how many I've ordered to know if it's been at least been solicited every month. I can't remember, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, I'm digging it. I like anthology books, and I like this one best because, like I said, you're getting a full. It may not be the whole story, but you're getting a full comic book's worth of story, not just a barely wet your whistle. Not that there's anything wrong with like the Vertigo version. Those are generally just really attempts at really tight stories, and I don't mind that. If you can tell a story in six pages or less, cool. I mean, I'm all for that. That's enjoyable. Dark Horse Presents tends to give you one comic book's worth over like 2 or 3 issues. You have to so you buy 2 or 3 Dark Horse Presents to get a full issue's worth of the comic, kind of a thing. Seems to be how they operate. So difference in delivery, and so that's kind of cool. And that was for you for independent books, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Of ones that I read, I have some I haven't read yet. I did read the latest version of BPRD Hell on Earth. For those people who have been reading the Mignola universe stuff, this is Sledgehammer, the helmet of Sledgehammer. They actually come across Sledgehammer was in kind of a possessed robot armor from early World War II, and they've told some Sledgehammer stories back in that time, but Sledgehammer is not a modern era character. Well, Jonathan, the guy who is inside the containment suit, has found this thing, and he's determining on whether or not he can get it put back, because it's in pieces. If he can get it put back together again and put himself in it, so he doesn't have to worry about his containment suit getting shot to hell and him leaking out and then not having a body to deal with any stuff. Because he wants to be able to basically wade into combat, because he's tired of having the people around him get killed, and people look at him and go, why aren't you risking yourself more, because you can't die? And I think he's tired of that. So this is his answer to that, because clearly he can't just step out and get himself tore up in his containment suit, because then he's of no use to anybody, because then he's just a floating cloud. So we get some story elements of that. One criticism about this issue is, if you know everything about Sledgehammer, there's some kind of retelling to kind of get you up to speed. If you don't know this character in this suit of armor, that I didn't need, because I already know those stories. But I guess if you weren't reading all of that, you would need. A new artist on it, Julio Tedsenko, I think is how you say the name. Really like, pretty sharp artist, but always cool, always digging it. This is like the final year of the Hell on Earth. There's like 12 issues of Hell on Earth, and then it turns into something else, because even worse stuff happens, I guess, which I don't know how it could get much worse than it is now, but excited. Dark Horse has been talking, and Mignola has been talking a lot about this. All this buildup that's been happening all this time is now, then the Hell on Earth part has been going on for a couple of years now, is going to finally completely explode, and we're going to get whatever is next. And always looking forward to that.
As somebody who watched more of the movies than doing the reading,
sure.
The guy in the containment suit, Jonathan, is that who they refer to as Johan in the movies? Yeah. Then, all right.
And maybe that's how you say his name. Maybe it is Johan.
All right.
Yeah, he's the German.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Revival, great cover. Issue 31. There is a pregnant character in it. She's not this large yet, but nor is she walking around naked drinking from a wine glass full of worms. But that's a striking image. Yeah. It continues to chug along. I really like the book. It is so serialized, so soap opera-esque in a way. Not that it's cheesy, but that it just, you have to be there all the time. But I really like it. Like I said, I still enjoy it. It continues to have some interesting stuff. They tied a character in this back to some interesting people. There's a Arab American character in this who works for the CDC and the federal government and stuff. And his brother is the shoe bomber, for people who are familiar with, in the United States, the guy that tried blowing up one of the airlines because he had explosives in the soles of his shoes, which now forces all of us, when we go on take airplane trips, to take our shoes off. He's related to that guy. It's his brother, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
So he works for the government, But there's this other secret organization that's kind of, I'm not sure if they're a pseudo government agent or they're just kind of their own evil cabal. And they're like holding that over him. And they kind of let him know, hey, we know this, so how's it going? So there's some serious craziness going on there that doesn't really have anything to do with the revivals. But of course, that's adding to the complication of this whole contained thing that's going on. We get some more exposure to the ghost things that have been walking around. One of the revivalists gets possessed by one of the ghost things briefly. We get to see some crazy flashbacks and some memories of somebody else, which adds a whole nother level of interesting elements to make you kind of go, about that whole aspect of it. Still really, really cool. Not a fast moving book. Occasionally things explode and there's some ultra incredible violence, but then there's lots of other moments that are really kind of slow moving and whatnot. The end of this ends really interesting. Some people have each other at gunpoints that you wouldn't think would have each other at gunpoints, but they suddenly do. So that's kind of interesting. Roche Limit. This is The Clandestine. This is issue 3. Still not really enjoying this book. I don't care for the art. The art is hard enough to look through. I can't keep track of who the characters are. It usually takes me about a quarter of halfway through the book to figure out, oh yeah, that's that person again. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I mean, the people that are on the planet are hallucinating in some sense. I'm not sure exactly how much. And I'm still struggling to try and figure out how this book has to do with the last Roche Limit book, because they're supposed to be tied together loosely in some sense. This one's set 75 years into the future, but there's supposed to be some elements that somehow, and I don't know, I'm not understanding that. I'm not sure how many issues this arc is. I don't know if it's 5 or 6, but hopefully soon it starts to explain that to me. Otherwise, very frustrating. So issue 11 of Trees, as always, a great book. Just really like it. We're now 100% concentrated on Manhattan and the tree that's in Manhattan and the tree that's up in the north part of Scotland, where our character who survived the Antarctic invasion there is up there. She is up there in a governmental capacity. She is surveying the botany of the area to make sure that none of those black poppies show up. If those black poppies show up, they're going to come up there and defoliage them as fast as they can, so they don't have the EM pulse blast that happened in Antarctic. There's some resistance to her being there. There's some archaeologists that have been digging around these stone circles who think that the government's going to come up there and carpet bomb the place and wreck all of the artifacts they're digging up, because they're worried that's going to be the government response to the tree that's up there after what happened in Antarctic. And she's continuously reassuring them that no, that's not the case. She's just there to kill some plants if that's what's needed. Meanwhile, in Manhattan, we're finding out just how corrupt Manhattan continues to be. The guy who is mayor-elect, he is meeting with people who are living in the ghettos. We find out he comes from the ghettos. He has a personal vendetta to score against the city of Manhattan, because when the trees landed in Manhattan, it flooded lower Manhattan, and the police made it a point of beating back the people who were trying to get out of lower Manhattan to keep from being drowned. And he was one of those people that got beat back. He has scars on his body that show from that. And he wants to, once he's mayor, he wants to put an axe to those people. But he struck some deal with some other people who are awfully close to being terrorists themselves. And that deal may end up exploding in all their faces. So all interesting things happening around these trees, but nothing really about the trees themselves. They're just this kind of element that's forced these people into these situations and behaviors. And once again, I think another great cover, because in this issue, they talk about how these stone circles are all over the place, all over Brittany and whatnot, and they are like the keys to some greater plans. And of course, so there's the stone hedge kind of thing, and the shadow into the ground. They're shaped like skeleton keys, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah.
Now, I think that's probably the best example of where you say that some things can only be done in comics or done especially well.
Yeah.
because we couldn't do that with a movie or a book or something like that. That it seems that the format, because it's like you said, not even about the trees. I mean, what you think would be the most critical part of the whole book,
Uh-huh.
but it's about the interactions of the people. Then they keep touching on this bigger
Right.
thing, the
Right.
trees.
Right.
I mean, because that's what held me back is every time you start talking about the first 3 or 4 issues, it was all these stories and it has nothing to do with the trees.
Right.
And then I see that it just, the trees are there, the deep, good stories are there, and then it adds to it. So they just work right together. And I guess that's what I'm amazed by, that independents can do that so well, that comic books do this format so well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it takes a certain amount of patience from the reader to trust to read some of those first issues to see what it's really going to be. Because it's, of course, billed as being, there's these alien things that come down, these giant monolith things. So you have this expectation that's what's going to be, and you don't have a patience as the consumer to take in a few of those issues and see what it really is, then you've wrecked it for yourself already. But yeah, I mean. The beauty of a comic book is you can deliver this stuff in a way that nothing else does. So yeah, very cool.
I hear that with trees, or when you and Luke talk about the fade out. I think it's probably the other best example.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a great way of unfolding, investing us in what's really going on. So when these greater things happen, you're invested at the ground level with what's going on there. So when something happens, when in trees, when in China they basically annihilate this city that's built around this one tree, they decide it's that it's unnatural or whatever. And they decide they literally go in and scourge the thing. All the characters we've learned about there seemingly are all blown up dead, and you get to see some of them literally getting blown to pieces in front of your eyes. If they just did that, it would mean nothing. But the investment that we get in the storytelling that went on there, and then to have this be their answer. This is ultimately society's answer to the struggles these people are trying to go through. It's just to freaking blow them away. It had this wonderful impact. I mean, a bummer if you wanted to keep seeing about those characters. Clearly. But that was the impact of the story that they wanted to tell, and it was done really well. So yeah, very cool. The only other book I got to was one of the Six Gun miniseries. This is Death Valley. This is issue 3. Once again, written by Brian Hurt, who typically is the artist on Six Gun. Zamundo is doing the art. The art is wonderful on the book. Hill on colors. Great kind of magical fight. The Native Americans are trying to take it to the bad guys, because the bad guys is basically death and a demon have rolled out. There's a door to a dimension of death. It's swung wide open and it's broken. The hinges are broken off of it. They're trying to, shut the door, basically. They're teamed up with this guy down here whose name is Cafu. He is like the keeper of the crossroads. He takes lots of different forms. Typically, the one we see him in is kind of, he looks somewhat African American, except he has kind of snakish looking eyes and fangs, but wears kind of a bowler hat and a fancy suit. But he sits on the crossroads. He's the devil that you make the deal with, on the crossroads and that sort of thing.
Was he the one introduced in the Louisiana?
Yes.
All right. That's it.
Yeah. So he's in this, and of course, because he also controls the crossroads with this door being open, he can't travel through dimensions, because until the door gets closed, he's screwed too. So he's helping them, but he's in just as bad a shape as they are. They're in the plane of hell now, and they've lost most of their numbers. There's only a few of them left. They're way off the path, and if they don't get back on the path fairly quickly, they're going to devolve rapidly. So it's pretty cool. It has some cool elements in it, some great artwork. Of the spin-offs, this one's been really good. I don't know when we're going to get the last issues of Six Gun, though. There's still 3 issues of it out. I know that Brian Hurt was just, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago was working on the next issue, but I don't know what happened, because Six Gun was a book that came out without fail, came out every month. It met its deadline every single time for, 30 some odd issues, but there's been this huge gap. I don't know if that's because they all got too busy doing other projects or what. So,
now I also see they're doing a role-playing game for Six Gun.
Yeah, it was kickstarted. Mm-hmm.
All right, is that something you're interested in?
I put money towards it.
Okay.
I haven't role played anything in a long time, but I'd be curious to see. I threw some money at it because I think to see it get made, just to see what the heck it is, kind of a thing. But so yeah, see what. It's a cool world, you know. So it would be fun to play in. It'd be fun to play a character in.
Yeah, and I'm digging through 4 and 5. I mean, it was in my tag video of things to read, and I'm enjoying it. I've been getting those on the cheap during New Comic Book Day. So
cool.
Yeah, and I'm thankful that you guys talk about books like that, because it's been a great series. I haven't not read anything on the mini series. So I haven't done any of those.
Right. And none of them are necessary. They don't. They're interesting other aspects of, and some of them are better than others. I really wasn't that big of a fan of. I think it was Son of the Guns. I think was the one. It was kind of told the story of the the original owners of the guns, General Humes' thugs. It kind of told how they got the guns and what put them where they're at. Right. For when we see them in the story, when we get introduced to them in the story, they're already these, really desperate people who are already consumed by their guns to be what they are. You get to see the story of how they got to that place. Some of those were okay because it was, there was each comic had to do with each one of the guys. Yeah. And some of them were, whatever, kind of a thing. The Bill John one was fine. It was pretty decent, just kind of seeing what he was going through to try and save his daughter, which then explains why he's hooked up with Drake Sinclair and helping him out so much and gets himself killed. Kind of a thing. There's this one, and there's one that tells, I can't remember what it's called, the one that tells the story, kind of gives you the back history of the Knights of Solomon and the what's the other one? The two opposing forces, the ones, they're the two opposing. I can't, Sword of Abraham. Those two groups kind of gives you a kind of a more background of what they're like and why they are butting heads with each other in some sense and whatnot. So, and that one was pretty cool too. So, right. Yeah, and that's it for the books that I got read. I do have a Dark Horse Presents came out this week too. I haven't cracked it up and read it yet, and something else. I don't have it down here with me. I can't remember what it was. Right. Another book that I need to read that I know that nobody else I know really reads them. So I knew there's no reason for me to be talking about them. So independent news. I don't know of anything either. I'm just kind of burnt on news. I after the con, I'm just kind of worn out on the whole news thing. I'll get back into it at some sense, but down the road. But yeah, I'm pretty decent week of comics for me anyway. Enjoyed what I read as a whole. I don't know what were you gonna say?
It was a short one for me, so it was all filler stuff. Like I said, Atlas, and then I got the last Thor for the God Bomb series. The end of I don't even know where I put it. So
I'll look here real quick. I don't know what's coming out next week. You got any books coming out week you're itching for?
Just trying to remember. I'd have to look. I don't recall week to week. I always get surprised. I usually look on Monday to help me get through the middle of the week.
Yeah, let's see here. Cruising through here, looking to see what.
Old Man Logan, I think it might be that week.
Oh yeah, cool.
And 'cause I'm thinking it's my my Marvels, and so Secret War stuff.
Let's see what comes out for me. Looks like get another issue of Effigy comes out. That'll be cool because that's getting really strange now. Cyborg #1 comes out next week. I don't know if I'll pick that up or not. I think I ordered it because I think through ordering it through Discount Comic Book Service, it was going to cost me like 99 cents or something like that. They had some massive discount on it, trying to get people to. Gotham by Midnight comes out next week. That'll be cool. Looking forward to seeing what that, what continues to go on with that. Grayson comes out. I'm still really enjoying that. So excited about that. Second issue of Harley Quinn and Power Girl comes out for people who are reading that. Justice League 3001 #2 comes out. We Are Robin issue #2 comes out. Get the second issue of that. I don't know. I'm one of the few people, I guess, that wasn't too excited by issue 1. So check that out. Let's see. What's coming out by Image? Oh, I think our final issue of Cowl comes out.
Yes, that is it.
Yeah, issue number 11 of that comes out. Wolf #1 comes out. That's an Alex Cop book. Looks kind of interesting. It's a $5 book, though. I don't know how thick it is, but just looking at it right now, it's a $5 book. Five Ghosts finally comes back. Five Ghosts issue 17.
Oh, yeah, it's the vampire issue, isn't it?
Yeah. Continuing on with that. Another issue of Stray Bullets, Sunshine and Roses comes out. That'll be cool. For those people picking up The Son of the Devil, I know I've heard people talk about issue 1. I don't remember people talking about issue number 2.
No, I know I dropped it after that.
Yeah.
I think I see Grayson. Did you say that?
Yeah, Grayson will be out. That'll be cool. Yeah, let's see. Marvel books. All new Hawkeye. I think the last issue of Magneto. I think Magneto, Loki. So that's my, get those books come out this week. E is for Extinction #2 comes out. Old Man Logan, you're right, it comes out.
All right.
Star-Lord and Kitty Pryde issue #1 comes out. I don't know if people are getting that or not. Weird World #2.
Yes.
I'm glad I looked because of course that's not on my poll, but I'll have to go to the store to get that.
For me, Insufferable #3. That's that father and son independent comic where it's like a Batman,
right?
Bat Son spoof, or not spoof, but kind of knockoff, and it's been good. So
Cool. Yeah, that'll be some good books.
I see October Faction is coming out in trade. You said you didn't continue on that one?
No, I didn't.
It was too darkish.
Yeah, the art was so dark. It was hard to. I felt like I was missing stuff because the palette was so incredibly dark. There's elements of it that were really cool, though. That would be something that I would pick up in trade if I had a decent deal on it.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know what the cover price is for that on trade, but that might be worth picking up to read all at once.
All right.
It had some cool elements. The idea of it was cool. I got frustrated with how damn dark it was. So.
And you mentioned Loki, Agent of Asgard.
Yeah.
Oh, and Magneto. Yeah. So that's a bunch.
Yeah. So I'll have a few Marvel books next week to talk about too. So. And next week, Comic Book Roundtable will be back on Saturdays, back on its normal day. So
yeah, cool.
I'll have time to relax and read my comics instead of rushing to read my comics to have this conversation, which I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
But anything else you want to talk about?
No.
Are you gonna file the hip hop variants for Marvel? I forgot to talk about that during the Marvel thing. That's the thing. I was-
No, generally I don't buy covers.
The variants?
I mean, yeah, variants. Especially, I guess in my shop, if they're both the same price and the other one looks bad, yeah, I would pick it up. But just so often, they just don't intrigue me enough, or they
Right.
tend to run just a little bit higher,
Sure.
and I don't want to pay the extra for it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I have pretty much zero interest in variant covers if I'm paying premium dollar for them. That's for sure. But
I'm sure eventually one month something will come out that will hook me, and I'll have to buy all the issues. But until then,
so far,
I'll say.
Yeah. So far, that theme hasn't happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of where I am too. I mean, I like the idea of album covers and whatnot. As a matter of fact, somebody did a contest or whatever, and one of the questions was something along that. What kind of theme would you? And that was my suggestion. Let's do a album, cover. If I had to do variants, let's do album covers or something like that, or whatnot. So Marvel owes me some sort of kickback, I'm sure.
Well, and especially I guess I wasn't that big into hip hop in the 80s or 90s when these covers are shown. So
Right.
yeah, I guess that also didn't sell it for me. Just the same as the Joker. I wasn't a big fan, so when all the Joker ones popped out,
Sure. Sure. I'm amusing to look at, but nothing I have to purchase. That's kind of what it'll be for me too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I
Okay,
really love it. It'll come out as a poster eventually. I'm
there
sure.
you go. Well, I think we're done for the night.
All right.
Thanks for coming in, chatting some books with me.
You bet.
We'll come back next week and talk some more books.
Yep.
And thank you everybody for who tuned in tonight to watch us live here. Thank you for everybody who watches it after the fact, because I know there's lots and lots of people who do. Appreciate that. Always appreciate the comments, even if I don't get back to commenting to your comments. I try to catch as many of them as we can during the show. I'm still trying to find a better way to catch the comments. The way I thought I was going to be able to catch them does not work. So back to the drawing board on how to make that work better than me hearing my phone go knock at me and knowing that I have an email to look at that tells me what the comments are. So
do what I do, and a longtime fan, just fight your way onto the show and beg Travis to let you speak. So
there you go. Happy to have pretty much anybody on the show. Get a hold of me in advance. It usually doesn't work very well if the show's already running and you say, hey, can I be on the show? It's awfully hard for me, especially if you're somebody who hasn't been on the show before, for me to track you down, because Google Plus and whatnot is not always friendly to try and get somebody on a Hangout that I don't already have a system in place for that to happen, right? And I think just about anybody who's been on the show can attest to the problems we've had in the past trying to make that all work. So like I said, new people are always happy to have new faces and new voices to talk about the books and their experiences of reading comics. Always happy to have that. But you need to be able to stage it in advance so we don't have disasters on the show. So that being said, we'll be back next week. Have a great one, everybody.